The Revelation, chapter 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and it cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. And he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
I find no sympathy within the agony stemming from Lucifer's remonstrance. He would be stripped of all divine aptitude, taking on the title and role of Satan to wage war against the Creator. Imago Dei, image of God. We are created in His image, and theologians believe through grace we will inherit a rank higher than that of the angels. This is a part of what is known as the beatific vision, a vision Lucifer objected to. The reason this violation was as ignorant as it was severe is because angels, having been created by God to serve in heaven, have been bestowed with what is known as perfect comprehension. As humans, we make a mistake, we suffer the consequences, then we learn from it. Our comprehension comes after, and the understanding between right and wrong is not innate with all things. For Lucifer and his fallen angels, this knowledge and divine understanding is as much of a fabric of their being as an autonomous heartbeat is to us. It is believed that Lucifer was one of 4 archangels, alongside Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. He would be replaced as a consequence to the abdication of his divine responsibilities. However, the devil in his keen ways determined there exists a substratum within our material being that could be nurtured to form a new insurrection. While our avatars may hold the threads to the potential outcomes of this new rebellion, Lucifer's transgressions are the warp of the narrative tapestry we are unfolding and adding to. Beset upon our lives from his demurrer, war between absolute good and absolute evil has, is, and will be a part of the fabric of our reality. The axis of contention is the mortal realm. The devil's faculties may provide domain over this realm, and we can ascertain he is able to influence it with tremendous force. Constant temptations, promises of power, wealth. Today's measures of success are largely perpetuated by the material, and passions saturate our decision-making so intensely, it does one good to question why we oblige them. The inability to say no seems to be the baseline for true livelihood. You don't go from this to this because of nothing. I refute the notion that the natural inclinations of humanity lead to ruin. It must be outside us. A force of no physical body or material form. I know we're just talking about a trading card game, But is it so strange to think that spiritual warfare is present? Obscure and ambiguous, sure, but demonstrably evident. And that's the point. For instance, do you have control, 100% control, of every thought that enters your mind? You recognize and remember in this moment you are breathing. Don't get it twisted, I'm not here to proselytize. I just wish to present the basis my conjecture rests on. The battle for humanity is at stake after all. So what makes us mere mortals so appetizing to the forces of evil? Is it the struggle that provides the pulp? Is a more fruitful subjugation predicated on the thrashing and resistance? Can the magnetism of wickedness reach into compulsory? Or is it easier than that? Do the non-living among us casually extend the imitation themselves? Would someone sell out their own blood for what is a fraction of time with material bliss? A trope probably familiar to us all through some form of pop culture or another is the deal or pact with the devil. Poor Tawny. What if the deal was subtle, unseen by the signee who cannot fathom the weight of what they've agreed to? Satan's temptation of Eve to eat the apple from the tree of knowledge, which she then gave to Adam, the first sin. The devil never abides by the law of equivalent exchange, which is the notion that what is taken must be given back in equal measure. Adam and Eve were cast out of Eden, and evil's burgeoning began within humanity. This spiritual wound gave the devil a methodology to corrupt the flesh. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil, continually. Consequentially, the flood. However, it wasn't without tremendous grievance and pain for God. One of the most important points to this is that the devil understands the aptitudes of a human being. He understands God's omnipotence. He understands we are made in his image, and subsequently how to offend him in every minute way. It makes sense to me that the tactic most effective would be slighting God through the vehicle of sin, vituperations that render us barbs. While I may be painting this bout with one side at advantage, we mortals have a bulwark prepared for us. Heaven has a structure similar to what a military would. Each choir of angels, as they're referred to, have their own tasks, objectives, and responsibilities. An agreed upon order establishes this hierarchy, and we have examples within Gothic that showcase them. Seraphim, the highest angels. Cherubim, angels who pray or intercede. And thrones, those in charge of justice. Satan's got his hierarchy of demons as well, each one poking and prodding in their control over specific types of sins. Familiar to us now through sorcery is Mammon, embodiment of material greed and earthly desires. Asmodeus, who resides over sins of lust and wantonness, which is the state of being reckless and unrestrained with the disregard for the consequences in tow. Design team gets an A+ from me for intent here. And how could we forget our dear Pudge Butcher, otherwise known as Beelzebub, the demon of gluttony. Another nickname he's received is Lord of the Flies, ironic considering his immobile nature. One more reference that would be fun to mention is the Orb of Balbereth. Baal can be translated to Lord or God, and Bereth to covenant. It's pretty tame stuff, but have you noticed the secrecy of this location? Very much hidden and far beneath places normal eyes are not privy to. The intimations of the orb's functionality are interesting to ponder as well. Since it helps create simulacra of magic's cast, I could see how some might find it miraculous. It's clear in matters of the spirit or soul, a full frontal assault is not the only strategy. The materialization of this war in the mortal realm is significant. In Gothic, having exposed the pecking order of these disputing forces has moved the veil ever so slightly. For a short while after hearing this, you'll notice each time you blink. With that being said, the red yarn on the clue board points towards Mephistopheles. Some sense has graced me after considerable time trying to deduce what he may have had his hand in with regard to the lore. Approaching an explanation of one of my favorite mysteries in the game was difficult until now, and it still may end up being a wild supposition nevertheless. There's a solid case that Mephistopheles is the personification of the devil himself. He originates from the German folklore of Faust, written by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. The most Germaniest name ever, that's so cool. Faust is a play told in 2 parts, and I was going to read off a quick summary myself, but I found Dr. Rufus Fears, who has some lectures on YouTube, and he's just so damn fun to listen to, so I'm going to show you that instead of a boring reading from me.
But in 1808, the first part of Faust was brought out. And it really begins like the book of Job in heaven, with God and the devil walking back and forth. Now, the devil here is not a cloven-hoofed monster, though he can be, but he is a very erudite man of the world. Picture him in his knee breeches and wig, walking up and down with God, to whom he pays great reverence. You know, I continue to look out on the human race that you created, and they're a pitiful bunch. They look like a bunch of grasshoppers to me, hopping all around, never getting anywhere. No, no, says God, you misunderstand them. See the civilized conversation between absolute good and absolute evil. No, you misunderstand them. Men want to achieve. And as long as men and women are striving, as long as they are trying to do something, they'll make mistakes. But the striving is what is important. That's why I've given them free will. Ah, yes, free will. What does that really amount to? Do you really give them free will? I do. They can make any choice they want. Do you know Faust? Dr. Faustus says the devil. Well, yes, I do. Very learned man. He is. Why don't you go and see him? If there were one human I would want you to get to know something about, it's Faust. Can I do anything I want to with Faust? Of course you can. Could I have his soul if he agreed to give it to me? Well, yes, if he agreed to give it to you. He's got free will. Thank you so much.
There's so much levity in Dr. Fierce's delivery and setup to the intrigue of the story. You would almost think the tale of Faust is a pleasant one. Unfortunately, not quite. Found within the play is Faust's ambition for something greater than he perceives he has, and the devil goads him into believing he can provide it. For the lowly costs of his own soul and eternal servitude after death, of course. The specificity of Faust's fate is not the focus here, but rather the bargain itself that's made between him and Mephistopheles. Something, anything, in exchange for the soul. Here's where I'll graciously ask you to follow along in faith, because it's time for theories. There are 2 mysteries I've eagerly tried to dissect, and I feel like Mephistopheles is the orchestrator of both in some capacity. I've alluded to the first in the Mythos and Mystery video, which is the peculiar absence of a ruler, royalty, or lordship for Fireland, a discrepancy I'm desperately reaching for an answer to. The second is Mirror Realm. There are plenty of cards that have strange creatures or weird abominations, but this one truly fascinates me in the same inexplicable way Starseeds of Ur does. In the context of sorcery, they are uncanny. Let's start with the thoughts around Fireland's absent throne. The region seems to be an arid biome made up of vast deserts. Considering we have multiple distinct sites representing this, maybe there's no Fire Lord because it's uninhabitable. Certainly a possibility, but it's inconclusive and, in my opinion, just horrendously false. Rimland nomads, raw dromedary, as well as the Petrosian and Saracen forces, show that it's not only inhabitable, but has been for a while. So no, I don't think the throne is empty because the deserts are hard to live in. Okay, how about maybe the man portrayed in King of the Realm was previously Lord of Fireland? After some successful campaigns, he fights against the Lord of Midland, defeats him in battle, claims the throne and land, crowns himself King of the Realm, takes his wife, they pop out some kids, the lineage continues on and on and on. In this process, Fireland and Midland are now under his rule, so he doesn't need a replacement, and the sovereignty of the realm is under his command. Hey, that's not too bad an idea. Well, until we look at the card Midland Army. Notice the different banners flanking the painting that contain iconography of fire and water, which probably represent mercenary forces from Fireland and Unland respectively. It's a glaring contradiction to this theory for me. If the Lord of Fireland is trying to usurp the Midland throne, why would there be a joint effort where they are on the same side of the battlefield as this card implies? Seems like this theory is a little weak. However, I don't think the foundation is rotten. A consideration to put forth is that we could be looking at Midland Army at the wrong time. Were there amicable goals that needed an alliance of the three regions, Fireland, Midland, and Unland? If that's the case, well, we have a significant omission of Highland, don't we? Is there a narrative scenario to support this 3 versus 1? That type of posturing, to me, would have to be the consequence of something substantial, and naivety would point me towards territorial claims as the reason. So I don't buy it. It doesn't explicate certain things to me. Would Highland even have the capacity to defend or retaliate with such disadvantageous odds? What do we see when we look at the card pool for air? Evidently, it can be considered home base for dark magics and wicked alchemy. Not to mention necromancy and raising the dead, occult practices, lycanthropy, vampirism. Was Highland already practicing these types of rituals? Or did something precede this? There's a slyness behind these eyes that bothers me. I also find this quite odd. We're a bit deep in the weeds here. Let's back up. If I'm to assume any veracity in my assumptions, then there had to have been a catalyst to all this. Parallel to Lucifer's fall, the pact with the devil is what I keep anchoring to. But who was it making the deal? For so long, I felt like the simple answer was, it's whoever the Lord of Fireland was, right? He made the deal vying for power, and he caused the region and possibly the realm to fall into ruin. Maybe that's true, and fire as an element is about desire and destruction. But it just feels too uncomplicated. For me, when the threads start running off and things get confusing, I actually feel like I'm getting somewhere. And I can't imagine the fine print explicitly saying only one deal with the devil can occur. I mean, it's kind of his job, right? Why would he stop at one? Perhaps I haven't considered how far the devil could push someone, or the ceiling on the worst that could happen through his influence in order to acquire more souls. Here's an interesting thought. What if Mephistopheles tended to the arrangement and planning of something horrible? An abhorrent situation similar to what happens in Berserk. Now that would be a lot of souls. Miora's work has influenced numerous other projects, so why not a trading card game as well? For Sorcery, I can't determine who Griffith would be within our game, and maybe it's not important, but I really like the notion that a similar sequence of events occurred that initiated the eclipse here as well, an accord fueled by ambition not suited for this world. The parallels are pretty solid, and Gothic did inundate us with evil to the point it became a keyword in the game. Our primary component in this process is the twisted oblation of a people, the agreement of the sacrifice, the black mass, a catalyst that plunges the mortal realm into the darkness of a new age. The aftermath of the accord wherein lies our second mystery, mirror realm. It took some digging into studies of the immaterial, but I have something to share. In some shamanistic cultures, as well as occult beliefs and mystical traditions, mirrors act as an aperture or tunnel leading from one reality to another. Certain cultures make it mandatory to cover up windows or move mirrors entirely while preparing the final rites for a loved one who is ready to pass. There's a superstition that the soul, while on its journey stepping from one place to another, can be deceived by the mirror or window and become snared. An issue of the Zygon Journal of Religion and Science, published in 1989, had this to say. This article deals with two categories of material culture: portals, that is, the point at which one enters or leaves a space, and mirrors. At first glance, they seem to have little, if anything, in common. However, it will be argued that some mirrors are used psychodynamically as portals, and their convergence occurs at the junction between ordinary and non-ordinary realities. In contrast to the more obvious and generalized notion of portal, mirrors present realities inside themselves, which reflect what is outside. The relations between those images and reference are ambiguous. Mirrors minimally are two-dimensional representations of three-dimensional space, which reverse what they portray. Similar to locked glass doors, mirrors give a vision of realities in the sense which are beyond reach, yet the reflections speak to what is in the here and now. In that respect, they are like rituals. Just as rituals can remove barriers between mythological and everyday worlds, so can mirrors become open doors. Would it be concerning to you in the same way it was to me if some of the epithets Mephistopheles has accrued throughout pop culture and time were king of the crossroads, devil in the mirror demon? There's one other paranormal belief I encountered via a comment left on an article I read researching certain phenomenon related to the afterlife. A woman claimed, "I had a personal experience with this. I believe the death of my dog in the same room as a person-sized mirror created a portal in that mirror." What a haunting concept. If the death of an animal can create a portal in a mirror the size of which any one of us could find at home, how many souls does it take to create a mirror realm? The degree of death implied could only manifest from abomination. A sacrifice with a quantity of souls so colossal, it rips open the mirror from nothingness. Maybe in the end, it truly doesn't matter who made the deal. Someone must have initiated this new era of darkness, but what's done is done. Much like Berserk, the mortal realm is now tormented with the machinations of evil, and with the dominoes and tumble, a surfeit of monstrous consequences overflows within the realm. Lucifer, Satan, Mephistopheles, whatever title he wants to go by, is in his season. This spiritual warfare will be 24 hours, 7 days a week, and the devil does not sleep. We, the mortals of the realm, are not awarded the luxury of taking time off in the defense of our hearts and thoughts. In the meantime, I'm left wondering what comes next. What implications are there for the fatal realm? The outlook is bleak, I'll admit. Yet I see a glimmer of hope for humanity. Divine intervention betwixt the rise of evil and the fall of man. An intercession to let us know the angels are ready to bring the sunrise into dawn. It will still require the bravery of the mortals of the realm, a task for those resolute in faith. But the archangels stage their return, steeled in their heavenly responsibility to protect us against this evil as God commanded. Perhaps then will the realm and its inhabitants receive their deserved peace. Thank you for watching, and while we wait to see what the future holds, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Take care. I hope you'll leave asking more questions than you were able to answer.
Beware what you ask, nomad. Curiosity is a charming trait until it is not. Information will be volunteered, not coerced. It will create more questions than it answers. When at last their shadow is cast upon the firmament, it will take more than you can possess to bind and silence the screams within your mind.
My fellow sorcerers, if you told me something is only real if it's physical, I would call you a fool. There are forces in this world without bodies, without shape, without form. In the gaps of existence, there is nothingness, not nothing. That is lacuna. And skulking those spaces are those eager to find the correct angle to sneak in unnoticed, because just outside your periphery, they're watching you. While you sleep, they work to thin the veil, so they may one day take form. Dreams are the gateway. What I do have confidence in is that the inclusion of Yog-Sothoth is more than another charming homage Eric felt like including within the game simply because he loves H.P. Lovecraft. But who doesn't? Yog carries a hefty implication that hints to the future of sorcery, not just because of Lovecraftian influence and the void, but rather as an indication of what good versus evil means. Here's where I'm coming from. I've laid out my thoughts in the eclipse and what transpired as a result, and as a flat image, the eclipse is just a symbol that harkens an age of darkness. What I'd like to put forth is that Yog-Sothoth used this moment to also open the paths for eldritch monstrosities to find their way to the realm. What is an eclipse if not an alignment of two or more celestial bodies? This method in which these creatures enter has already been disclosed to us. If you saw the Mythos and Mystery video, I make it very clear that to a superintelligence, the conjunction of celestial bodies is not a matter of where, but when. Yog-Sothoth knows the gate. Yog-Sothoth is the gate. Yog-Sothoth is the key and guardian of the gate. Past, present, future, all are one in Yog-Sothoth. He knows where the old ones broke through of old, and where they shall break through again. He knows where they have trod earth's fields, and where they still tread them, and why no one can behold them as they tread. A quote I heard and love to steal is, H.P. Lovecraft is my favorite historian. Fellow sorcerers, the battle is indeed good versus evil, but you would be wrong in the assumption that there's only two factions at war. It cannot be undersold in any capacity how critical the system of the mortal realm is, and why narratively everything within sorcery is based on it. It's us. We are the key. We have seen it with our own eyes now. And even before Gothic was released. This is not just a narrative exploration for sorcery. It's biblical. Now, for the giant silver elephant in orbit. All of my intuition tells me we are not going to space in the way I've seen it discussed. Rather, whatever is out there is coming to us. The silver bullet in the promo indicates an exothermic reaction, which would be the result of the object entering Earth's orbit and making contact with our atmosphere. The other card I see discussed a lot is Nama Monitor. This giant freak is certainly alien looking, and I know the type line has been discussed as well, but just to the left of the text box for this card is a teeny pair of palm trees. And when I read an exceptional monster soars alien seas, I interpret that as the location depicted in this art is not wherever the Nama Monitor originates from. I think this is right here on Earth. Lastly, the brief snippet of the interview Eric did with Team Covenant.
Do you have any plans to do themes that are out there? Like dinosaurs, journey to the center of the Earth, planetary romance? Like how wild are you envisioning the future of sorcery?
Well, at least one of the things you mentioned there will be in the next set, I can say.
Charlie's rule for anything narrative. Once you go celestial, you cannot go back. I'm not saying we'll never go, but the hints that led to Path of Exile's current endgame activities were set up over many, many years. It was organic and patiently implemented. My enjoyment has always been the larger scope, so I'll throw my hat in the ring and present a guess for what's to come. At large, obviously we'll continue to see a multitude of forces battling for and against the mortal realm, and even against each other, I'd wager. We mere mortals might even find ourselves having triumphed over one of them at some point. A situation like that would present an interesting reverberation through the cosmos, perhaps. Something akin to a noise machine broadcasting non-stop through the known universe for millenniums, suddenly being turned off. And now the silence taking its place is much louder than the noise before. Who or what would be made aware of the mortal realm? Perhaps the Silver Bullet promo is our omen to investigate. For the immediate future, however, I'd wager the comment Eric made in the Team Covenant interview is somewhat of a half-truth. Dinosaurs is a bit too loose to have a set built around it, but could be included somehow. And I'm not entirely convinced about space. In the context of sorcery, what does that mean anyway? Journey to the center of the Earth is the most plausible to me, but I can't reconcile two things. First, the inclusion of Rune as a sacrificial object on the demonic contract card. And this. Now, there's no guarantee it's for sorcery. However, given Eric's documented professed love for Diablo 2, an avatar with a rune mechanic would be pretty neat. Rune words are a big component of Diablo 2, which allows the player to combine runes together to create modifiers on gear based on the specific order they're slotted into equipment. It would be a gnarly design for an avatar if they can pull something like that off. As far as sorcery's narrative is concerned, runes would fit perfectly into a set related to Norse mythology, and human history as a basis for lore would suggest it's at least on the table. Another avenue to consider stems from a comment I really liked from Asterial 7th that suggested sorcery is following in MTG's footsteps with the sets it releases and the theme that corresponds to each release. Arabian Nights in MTG would be our Arthurian Legends. The Dark would be Gothic. And next, worth a strong consideration, would be Ice Age. There were other sets in between, but I sense a connection that might tie all of this into a neat bow. The period of time widely considered to be the worst in human history is 536 AD, otherwise referred to as the Dark Ages. The suggested cause is a massive volcanic eruption that created an aerosol cloud. This blocked the sunlight for a period of 18 months. Temperatures dropped to 2 degrees Celsius in Europe. Snow fell in China during the summer. Famine from crop failures due to the cold and lack of sunlight. Social unrest from food shortages. For 18 months, humanity struggled through this horror. The sun was said to have appeared dim and bluish during this time, somewhat like the moon or a state of constant eclipse. It may be more symbolic than anything, but I found it very interesting that in multiple publications, they described the event as a, quote, mysterious fog. It's just a strange way to put it is all. With all of this evil abound, the waters remain muddied for now. I'd imagine Eric's comment was more, it's something we're setting up towards. And for me, Journey to the Center of the Earth is most plausible. I've been researching something called eschatology, which is the theological study of the last things or end times. Whatever name you want to use is fine. The book of Revelation says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season." This is Mercator's map of the Arctic Circle. This is a map of the Arctic Circle now. Mercator goes on to explain the source for his cartography. In the midst of the 4 countries is a whirlpool, into which there empty these 4 indrawing seas which divide the north, and the water rushes round and descends into the earth, just as if one were pouring it through a filter funnel. It is 4 degrees wide on every side of the pole. That is to say 8 degrees altogether. Except that right under the pole there lies a bare rock in the midst of the sea. Its circumference is almost 33 French miles, and it is all of magnetic stone. This landmass he describes, which is no longer here according to our current maps, reminds me of a cork on top of a bottle, the seal that kept the devil shut up within the pit. Perhaps a pit that leads to creation's core. Suggested as one of the entrances to Agartha is the North Pole. Also found at the North Pole is the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis. Lest we forget the properties of refraction, we should all know what happens when light meets glass. Thank you from my heart for spending your time with me during this video. I had so much worry about the content of it, that's why I placed the disclaimer, which actually took a lot of weight off my shoulders and made it more fun than the last one. I know there's a lot of nebulous concept stuff, but like I disclaimed, this is an interpretation personal to me. My goal is to confuse just a little bit. So if you walk away asking more questions than you had answered, I'll feel like I did a good job. The only thing I'm not sure of is the method and time periods Sorcery will bounce between with each set. Considering Jack the Ripper and Grigory Rasputin are basically from the early 1900s, Eric's Curiosa might not be too concerned with bringing an Odin-adjacent avatar or rune-manipulating avatar in an Ice Age set, even though they probably aren't from the same time period. Either way, let me know your thoughts, and once again, thank you. If you're here at the end, you spent over 40 minutes with me, which I'm very, very grateful for. So truly this time, no tricks. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and please take care. Alright, fine, one more thing. With all of these competing forces and cosmic nerds flying around, you may not be aware that we've been in the presence of a tertiary entity. In fact, you're in its presence more than you might know. When you're on your computer, looking at your phone, watching your television, It wants to meld your flesh with its intelligence. So don't be surprised if one day in Sorcery, we find the machine god. All right, freak, get out of here. Get lost. Bye-bye.